Hi, dear friends. This is Maria. I am establishing my school, Astronomy, and I would like to share my knowledge and my creativity. Like I said in my first video, the way I learn is visual with lots of colors and pens. So I made for you guys my first presentation, which I'm going to share now with you. And it's about the planet that is going retrograde in a few days. You will all guess. This is the planet Mercury. Okay, I'm going to put myself in the corner over there. On the picture, you can see the god Hermes, Mercury, or Woden. It depends with what mythology you're familiar. And Mercury, today we're going to talk about Mercury retrograde in the natal chart and Mercury retrograde as a transit. This symbol you see here, it's a glyph representation of Mercury, because in astrology all the planets have their glyphs. So you might be asking yourself, what is this actually? Well, the basic interpretation would be that this symbolizes Mercury's head with the wings and body. But the deeper interpretation of this symbol is there are three parts here, and the above one, the semicircle, it represents the soul. The circle represents the spirit, and the cross represents cross of matter, which is actually the horizontal one represents the body and the vertical one represents the mind. So the cross of matter is actually when a soul comes first. The spirits wander around the universe. So when they decide to incarnate into this earth, they take a soul. This is a spirit, right? They take a soul, which is a semicircle, and they come to the earth, which is the cross. So they take body and mind so they can live on the earth in this incarnation. So with Mercury, we have all three glyphs, and basically the soul is elevated above the spirit, because Mercury was kind of messenger. He was something between the gods and the humanity. So this is basically what it represents. So we're going to start with astronomy first, and Mercury is the fastest and closest planet to the sun. So because Mercury is the fastest, we connect Mercury to speed, like short travels, quick thinking, is basically like Speedy Gonzales. And it's closest to the sun, but not the hottest one, because Venus is the hottest one. So Mercury is, well, Mercury takes 88 days to orbit around the sun, which is very short time, obviously, when it's direct, but it goes retrograde. Then Mercury is always within 28 degrees within the sun's orbit, which means that it can have conjunction, it can be in conjunction with the sun, or semi-sextile, no other aspects. And Mercury goes retrograde 3 times per year. So Mercury is a rocky planet or a terrestrial planet, together with Mercury, with Venus, Earth, and Mars. And it's made of rocks and metals. And it's also inferior planet, which means that it's between the Earth and the Sun. So only only Mercury and Venus are inferior planets. All the other planets after the Earth are superior planets. And this is the picture of the messenger god, which is Mercury in the Roman mythology. So he was, we said he was the messenger. He was, well, he was like a postman, basically. We translate him today, in today's modern life. So he was like a postman, that he was delivering messages from God to humanity and vice versa. So in Roman mythology, this is Mercury. In Greek mythology is Hermes or Hermes. And the word Mercury comes from Mercari, which means to trade, because he's also connected to negotiating. In Greek, Herma means a pile of stones, and the story comes from the ancient Greece, where they would, on every crossroads, people would throw a stone into a pile of stones just to make a marker that they've been there. So Mercury also represents traveler as well. In Anglo-Saxon mythology, this is the god Woden or Odin, and this is actually where the day Wednesday comes from. I have a special presentation about the days of the week for you later. The story about Zeus and Maya. So Mercury was the son of Zeus. You all know Zeus. Zeus was the almighty god, and Maya was one of the nymphs. So Maya was one of the lovers of Zeus. So the product of their love, if we can say that, was Mercury. But he was neglected by his parents. So what he did, he went to the mountains, and he stole a cattle from his brother Apollo, and that's why he's considered as a trickster as well. So we also associate Mercury with antisocial behavior because of that, with children who are neglected from their parents. And Mercury also rules young people in general. And the Caduceus is this one, the rod he's wearing. So basically it represents, well, the rod is the Caduceus, it's difficult for me to pronounce this one. Well, there are two intertwined snakes, which represent the integration of yin and yang energy. Sorry. And they're intertwined 7 times, which actually represents people, humans' chakras in the body. And the rod itself is the spine of the man, of the human. And this actually rod or caduceus is associated with trade, eloquence, negotiation, alchemy, and wisdom. And this rod became a symbol of medicine and pharmacology. And when you go to some pharmacy, you can see this rod. So now you know what it represents. And now we're going to go to the astrology bit. So Mercury is the ruler of the 3rd house. So if this is the birth chart, divided into 12 houses, which is 12 areas of life, Mercury rules with the 3rd house, which is the house of Gemini. And 3rd house is communication, because we said he was messenger god. He was exchanging information between humanity and gods. Then Mercury is connected to thinking, speech, all the language skills, speaking, listening, writing, and reading. Then Mercury is connected to gadgets and devices like mobile phones, laptops, so everything electronic we use today. It's social interaction. It's the network, the internet, the technology we use today. Mercury is also connected to schools, usually primary schools and secondary. Then siblings, if you have brothers or sisters, this also belongs to the third house, and ruler is Mercury. Your neighbors, so basically everything that's surrounded around you in close proximity. And also Mercury rules the transport, because transport is very fast. So tube, buses, trains, etc. Mercury also rules the signs Gemini and Virgo. The difference, though, between these two signs is that Gemini, so they both work with information, but Gemini collects the data just for the sake of it. And Virgo actually analyzes, organizes the data, stores the data, and uses when necessary in more practical way. And then body parts. Mercury rules with the nervous system, the arms and heads, and the brain as well. And metal, Mercury is connected to Mercury in the thermometer, because it's very mobile and liquid, like Mercury, the fastest planet. And also it's toxic, which connects him to the antisocial behavior and trickster. Mercurial world. Today we all live in a mercurial world, which means that we eat and drink on the go. We take takeaway because we don't have time to sit and eat properly. So we just rush for the bus, we rush to go home. So everything is connected to this Speedy Gonzales thing. I call it like that. So there is no life with gadgets like mobile phones and computers. We cannot imagine our life. And then all social life is through networking, which is again Mercury. Okay, let's go to the retrograde now in the planet, retrograde in the birth chart. So if next to the glyph of Mercury, you see this RX thing, it means that your Mercury is retrograde. And let's see in the birth chart. Let's see, what does it mean? So because Mercury is communication, expressing thoughts and ideas. So basically the normal thing would be from in, out. This is the direct. So when it's indirect, it's actually the opposite way. So you don't feel comfortable expressing your ideas. You feel some frustration, or you don't know how, or you cannot find words. So those people with Mercury retrograde in their birth chart, they're more prone to reflection rather to giving opinion. So this is the introvert type. So you keep the thoughts and ideas in yourself because you're not sure how to express them. Maybe you're not sure how the people will get them. And those people need time to be alone and to think. So it's very recommendable to keep a journal. Because you don't tell your ideas to anybody. Actually, this is good for anyone, but especially for people with Mercury retrograde in their birth chart. So to keep a journal and write your thoughts, and with time you can go back, and because very often we come to brilliant ideas, me as well, and I don't write them and then I forget them. So it's good to write journal and keep those ideas and read them after a while and maybe implement them. So those people with retrograde Mercury, they think differently from the norm, and they use the wrong words at wrong time. So if you're a person who cannot find the right words at the right time, then check your birth chart and see if you have Mercury retrograde. they have the syndrome, nobody understands me. And that's because there is something inside your brain that it goes in the opposite direction, so you don't go with the flow. So Mercury, in general, retrograde planets are connected to karma from previous lives. So it means that in the previous life, something was not finished or was done wrong. So we come here again to fix our mistakes. So unfinished matters from previous lives. So maybe, let's say, in your previous life, you wanted to express your ideas, but you were put into prison for being a radical political somebody. So this, in our genes, we still feel the things, especially the traumas from our past life. So maybe it is connected to your past life. So this also can be shown in the birth chart, the aspects Mercury makes with the other planets, also the house and the sign and everything. And the best thing about the retrograde planets is that it becomes better after the first Saturn return. So the first Saturn return we experience all, and it's after around 29 years, the first one. So after your 30s, you should be better with this. You should realize what your, let's say, mistake is, and you should integrate better in the social life. So let's see how does work if you don't have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, but like now, Mercury is going retrograde on the 18th. As a transit, so this is just a temporary time. So how and what happens then? So this has to do with the heliocentric and geocentric perspective. Heliocentric, everything is so easy. There's the center of the solar system, this is the sun, and all the planets go around it, easy peasy. The problem comes when we count from geocentric perspective. So Gaia is Earth. When we look from the Earth, then things go differently. So basically, all this retrograde motion is illusion. It's not happening, but it's happening because we think, because we see it like that from the Earth. So let me just make one comparison. So this is like overtaking a vehicle. If you are in the red car here and you drive on the motorway, actually no, you're in the blue car, sorry, and you drive on the motorway and then you overtake this car. So when you look back, the red car will seem to go backwards, but you actually all go ahead, not backwards. But this is the illusion. So same things happens with Mercury here. So they all the Earth, Venus, and Mercury, they go around the sun. But when we go in front of Mercury, then Mercury goes ahead, and then we think that it moves backwards, which is actually not. So this is all illusion, but anyways, it affects the energy on the Earth. So what happens when Mercury goes retrograde? Well, English say anything that can go wrong goes wrong. It means that you have a shower in the morning, you want to dry your hair and your hair dryer dies. Then you run to the bus, you miss the bus, or the bus is late. Then you go to the tube station and you forgot your wallet or your Oyster card. So basically anything can go wrong. And all this anything is connected to the third house, as we talked about. So in communication, like when you speak to somebody, you try to convey a message. The other person does not understand you for some reasons, or there are some disruptions and delays in the local travel. Also with trade and commerce, so don't sign contracts when Mercury is retrograde because something might go wrong. On the public transport, obviously delays, cancellations, then you might have fight with your siblings. So be careful also with your neighbors. So everybody is more sensitive basically. And so this time Mercury is retrograde in the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is connected to mother, to nurturing, to the family and household. So be careful about the emotions within your family. So don't, like, even if somebody starts an argument, just say, oh, okay, Mercury is retrograde anyway, so I'm not gonna fight about this. So this retrogradation of Mercury is connected to your house, family and household. Also, another thing to consider is if you see your birth chart, you need to see in which house is your Mercury retrograde. So you connect the Cancer thing with your house. So Mercury is retrograde from 18th of June until the 12th of July. And the previous period, it was in February, and the next one is in October and November. And comments: fear no Mercury. I like this expression, fear no Shakespeare, because I studied Shakespeare, and this expression came because, well, Shakespeare is very much complicated to study, all his plays and sonnets and the Middle English language and the time in which he lived. So that's why I took this from this expression for Mercury here. So basically, don't be afraid of Mercury, because these are very little things that affect our life. If you miss the bus, it's not the end of the world. The next bus will come, or well, it's a bit more complicated if you miss the flight. But anyways, again, it's not the end of the world, you know. So when any planet is retrograde, including Mercury here, it's time for reflection, to think deeply, to look inside yourself and see the way you think, the way you express ideas, the way your communication is. If there is space for improvement, obviously improve some things. So don't be afraid, because there, let's say Saturn or even Venus, it's much more difficult for those transits. So Mercury is like your child spilled milk on the floor, and you know, but Saturn could be like somebody of your family is really ill. So this is the difference. So that's why don't be afraid of Mercury retrograde. Mind the threat and do not regret. I put this because if we are careful, probably less bad things, let's say, will happen. Because if you know that Mercury is retrograde, and it is very likely that something will happen on the way to the airport, then leave 1-2 hours earlier, and then you'll be fine. Make your plans when retrograde and implement them when direct. So when you have new ideas and new plans to start something new project, don't start it when Mercury is retrograde. As we said, Mercury is good for reflection, thinking. So write down all your ideas and implement them when he goes direct. And this is 12th of July. So you have enough time to think. Remember, astrology is like gravity. You don't have to believe in it for it to be working in your life. So many people do not believe in astrology and they say, no, rubbish. But even if you don't, I mean, this energy affects everybody, especially this year, 2020 is time of profound change and reformation of the humanity as a whole and in everybody's lives. And it's high time you drop everything you don't like, everything that doesn't make you happy, and you start a new life, you start new beginning. So if you like my presentation, this is my first one, so I know it's not perfect, although I'm Virgo, but with time I'm sure I will improve myself. So like my video, subscribe to my channel, comment if you have any feedback, good or bad, I'm happy to hear. If you want me to make something like that on something else, again, let me know. You can also contact me on my email, which is astromaria.2020@gmail.com. My next video is going to be about Venus retrograde, which actually is going to, she's going direct on the 25th of June. But anyways, Venus is my chart ruler and it's retrograde in my birth chart. So I want to make this video and share it with you guys. So I'm gonna stop sharing here and I'm gonna say thank you very much. And again, if you liked what you saw, like and subscribe to my channel, write me some feedback, and I will be happy to help you with anything else. Thank you. Bye.